Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Lance again, and today I'm coming at you with a new video. And today, this video is going to be kind of different because of the fact that I'm actually going to be doing an analytic video of a music video, which kind of doesn't make any sense. Lance, you do movie reviews, you do, commentaries, this and that nature on film and cinema. You don't really do anything about music anymore. You haven't for quite a while. However, I just feel like when certain things like this come out, and that is Donald Glover's newest music video for Feels Like Summer, I have to say something or at least do a little analytic video for you guys because I just feel like it's just such a profound piece of art and I just need to really go in depth. As many of you know, the video features animations of both Donald Glover and the whole hip hop community, with the exception of maybe Kendrick Lamar. I'm not sure why, but I think it's mostly because maybe he didn't get the release for him. But anyway, you have a whole bunch of people and it's depicted in certain ways, and I just want to kind of get in depth with that and kind of just go through the reins of how everybody's portrayed and things of that nature. So, let's just get back down to it. Now, the video starts off with just obviously an animated version of Donald Glover walking down a suburban street. And you see the bright sun, you see everything about that. However, then you see some kids walking by him or just running. And then you get to go see 21 Savage hanging out with Metro Boomin inside of a vehicle. And he kind of just dusts off the kids. And the kids go to Kodak Black's house. Kodak Black comes out wearing a straitjacket or just a jail jacket, and he can't do anything about it. Then out of nowhere, the Migos come around, play some ball. It's crazy, it's fun, everybody's having a good time. And then soon you see Birdman actually hanging out with Chance the Rapper, and then out of nowhere comes a little kid version of Jaden Smith. I believe the kids are portrayed as the younger rappers, the younger crowd, the people that are just kind of just growing in this industry and haven't really made their mark yet, or maybe have, but they're still kind of not amateur, maybe just a little bit immature about it. They don't exactly know everything about the industry just yet, but they will. Donald Glover then looks towards his left and he sees Will Smith just washing his car. You know it's Will Smith because of his eyes and his facial expression. He is happy. Will Smith has been happy for a while. He is kind of just embodies what a happy person should be. I mean, if you watch his YouTube videos, you see his collaborations with numerous people, not only just his film work, but just like in his regular life, he always comes off as a happy individual. He's just a staple for happiness at this point. He just seems so cool and so nice. And right above him, we get a shot of a rapper on top of a tree branch, kind of isolating herself from everybody else in the neighborhood. And a lot of people have been saying, and I'm going to say it too, that it's Azalea Banks. Now, I'm not too sure exactly everything that has to do with Azalea Banks because I'm not the biggest fan. I don't really listen to her music that much. However, I understand that she's kind of maybe a wild card. She's or rogue. She doesn't want to be associated with the hip hop community because she feels like she's on this kind of almost pedestal, I guess you can say, or at least that's what people have told me and kind of what I've gathered from her. Every time I really hear about her, she's always criticizing somebody or just going on a rampage or something like that. However, I'm sure she's a dope artist. I've never heard anybody say that, oh, she was a whack artist before. I just haven't personally listened to a lot of her music, but that's just my interpretation of this. Eventually, you do see Nicki Minaj playing kind of Jenga or just blocks with Travis Scott. And anybody who knows about the situation between the two is that Nicki had actually criticized Travis Scott for using Kylie Jenner or whatever. It was just one of those things where she thought that he was using Kylie Jenner for publicity on his newest album and kind of stunted sales on her album. And yeah, she just kind of called him out on Twitter for that. I don't know if anything else sparked out of that because I'm really not sure. However, I'm pretty sure that's why they're playing blocks together because they're just having a good time. And I guess at the end of the day, I mean, you can criticize another artist, but it's at the end of the day, it's all fun and games, and you guys are still going to be playing in this whole rap industry together. I mean, they were just sitting next to each other at the VMAs the other day, so I can understand why Donald Glover wanted to portray it like this. Now in this shot, Donald Glover looks to his right and sees a group of individuals playing tug of war with each other. The first group you see is obviously one of the most well-known people, The Weeknd, and then you also have, I believe his name is Ty Dollar Sign. That's who I'm going to say it is. I may be wrong, but that's just my interpretation of him. And then all the way at the end, you see Frank Ocean. They're playing tug of war against presumably Willow Smith, Solange Knowles, and ASAP Rocky. It's kind of hard to see this at first glance, but I believe that's who these 6 individuals are, and they're just playing tug of war, having a good time. Now, on this next shot, you see what is obviously Soulja Boy telling a group of young kids about a story, doing it with very, very big enthusiasm. And as you see, as the boys turn to each other, you see that they are both Trippie Redd and Lil Pump. Now, like I said before, Donald Glover is portraying the newer crowd of rappers, especially the younger crowd, really young. Like, Lil Pump is like 17, 18, as little kids. He's portraying them as children, new kids on the block that are just growing up into this rap game, hip hop culture, this and that. And it's pretty much kind of genius because you kind of do that to distinguish everybody and just the way, I guess you can say, everybody's brought up, if that makes any sense. But yeah, and Soulja Boy used to be just like one of them, and he's telling them a story. He's trying to educate them, kind of, and just teach them about what he went through and the crazy stories that he's encountered. And Lil Pump and Trippie Redd look at each other with, Trippie Redd actually looks like he's happy, and Lil Pump actually seems like he's questioning everything. Who knows what this actually all means, but that's just my interpretation of it. And then out of nowhere, you see what presumably is Future riding away on a bicycle after a Drake in a black shirt comes out of nowhere and just tries to chase after him. And then he kind of makes a sign kind of symbolizing who he is, because obviously we've seen memes of Drake just putting his hand up and not looking at what he not wants. And he kind of shows that here, but in this case, he actually wants Future back. He's kind of begging him to come back, I guess because of their collaboration they had did back in the day in 2015, I believe it was. I'm not sure if this is a shot at Drake or if it's just, just seeing what Donald Glover kind of just feels about Drake and whatever. Maybe he misses their collaborations together. And then, out of nowhere, the screen kind of turns black and just fades to black. And then the first person you see after that is Kid Cudi. Now, his head is facing down and his eyes are not awake. Like, he's just kind of in a trance. Like, he's just kind of depressed. And this is the perfect example of the state of Kid Cudi, because, a lot of people know that he's been through a lot of depressing episodes. He has checked himself into rehab a few times, I believe, or just once for depression and suicidal thoughts and things of that nature. So you can kind of see what Donald Glover's interpretation of the man is with this one shot. He views Kid Cudi as a depressed individual that's just kind of struggling, and that is perfectly exemplified with this one shot. Now, the next person who is shown is none other than Kanye West wearing a MAGA hat. And right behind them is Michelle Obama, kind of comforting him as he's crying. A lot of people have interpreted this as just Kanye West conflicted because of the fact that, he doesn't have a black woman figure in his life anymore. I mean, after the unfortunate loss of his mother back in the day, he kind of didn't really have, I guess you can say, a black woman figure in his life. And the reason why Michelle Obama is there is because he kind of, I guess you could say, my interpretation is that he may actually kind of wanted the acceptance of the Obama administration and Barack and Michelle Obama. However, after some of his antics, he was actually referred to as a jackass by the president at the time because of what he had did to Taylor Swift at the VMAs. And after, the Barack Obama presidency, you really kind of just saw Kanye take stabs at Barack Obama, saying that nothing has changed in Chicago because of Barack Obama, and just little tweets and nuances here and there that you see that Kanye really criticizes Obama. However, the Barack administration also welcomed the Carters, Beyonce and Jay-Z, wholeheartedly. And Kanye just kind of just is torn because he wants to be accepted by such great figures. However, he just found a way not to be. And the reason why he loves Trump, or he claims that he really does like Trump, is because of the fact that he was never accepted by the Obamas. And, or that's how he feels. Because remember, he has a lot of mental issues. So he feels that he was never accepted by the Obamas. And that is why he is crying. Because they welcomed in open arms the Carters, but never really truly accepted him for who he was. The next shot we get is obviously of Beyonce wearing a R.I.P. Fredo Santana shirt. So that's a Fredo Santana reference. However, she is shown explicitly that is her figure, that is her, and you know this for certain. And yeah, that's Beyonce. Now, there's multiple interpretations of what people have been saying about this particular shot. A lot of people have been saying that it's MLK putting down a cup of ice cream with both white and chocolate and seeing how they are melting because of the racial divide in the country. Or a lot of people have been saying that it might be a reference to XXXTentacion, a rapper who had recently died due to a shooting in Miami recently. The ice cream represents him because if you look at the braids in his hair, a lot of his prison photos or just any of his photos in general, it's yellow and brown. And that's kind of what you kind of see in the ice cream is yellow and brown if you don't want to say is white and black. And it melting obviously signifies that it is kind of dying. And X unfortunately passed away right before the summer. And that's a lot of people's interpretation, and quite frankly, that's my interpretation. Now, a lot of people actually have been kind of interpreting the next couple shots a different way because of the fact that it showcases 4 people, and one of them is pretty obvious. Is Lil Uzi Vert getting his hair braided. However, a lot of people have been saying the person braiding his hair is Oprah Winfrey, and I actually agree with that. She looks exactly like Oprah Winfrey, and I don't think I really have any attest to that. However, the people next to them are the kind of confusing ones because they kind of don't look a lot like the people that they might actually be. A lot of people, including myself, are speculating that this other woman that is sitting right next to Lil Uzi Vert and is sticking her tongue out is actually Kalani. And then behind her, braiding her hair, is the comedian known as Tiffany Haddish due to her mole under her, I believe it was her right eye. And you kind of see it as well in this one. So I guess you could say that this is accurate. I have not for certain, but who knows? It might be another girl for Kalani because I don't really think she looks like her due to her ears and stuff like that. But it may actually be Kalani, and I wouldn't be surprised anyway. Now the next few people who are portrayed in this video are eating popsicle sticks, and to the left of the photo is Charlemagne the God, the radio host, the Breakfast Club host. He's kind of just eating popsicles with Lil Yachty, that's obviously Lil Yachty. I mean, his red braids, the fact that he has gold teeth, etc., and he has a smile on his face. That is totally Lil Yachty, and I don't think anybody can disagree with that. And but yeah, that is Charlemagne the God. He is wearing his signature black hat, and they're just kind of eating popsicles. Now, when you go back to Donald Glover, he looks right back to his right, and he sees none other than Guap on the floor. He has Gucci Mane just kind of just soaking up some sun, while 5 dudes in the background are dancing behind him. And now these 5 dudes are Dr. Dre, Diddy, Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, and Jay-Z all the way in the back. Now, I think what these are kind of like legends, you know what I mean? Like, well, maybe besides Wiz Khalifa, the other 4 undoubtedly legends. But I think maybe it's because of the fact that a lot of them haven't really done music recently. However, they still find ways to keep in the limelight or keep relevance within the hip-hop community and just black culture in general. A lot of people always know who these guys are, regardless if they keep on making music or not, because they ultimately are very successful. Maybe with the least successful being Wiz Khalifa. However, he always kind of seems to be staying in the limelight because of the fact that, he does features here and there, but he hasn't really come out Or maybe he has. I'm not sure. I just don't really follow Wiz Khalifa like that. So excuse me if I'm wrong here. However, I know for a fact that a lot of these others, they kind of just do music in and out. And they, I mean, Jay-Z, I mean, he just did an album with his wife, Beyonce. However, that didn't do that well and actually has kind of been overlooked. Diddy with his business ventures, Snoop Dogg with just like his relevance everywhere. Everywhere he go, you know who Snoop Dogg is, and then Dr. Dre, with Beats, he's almost a billionaire. And right next to him is also another billionaire, or almost a billionaire. So it's one of those things where that's kind of how you could look at it right here. But they're all kind of dancing and just doing the same dance moves in the background, which is pretty interesting. And in the next shot, you see all three of the Ball brothers. You see LaMelo, you see LiAngelo, and you see Lonzo just playing video games. And then towards the back, you see Young Thug playing video games as well. Pretty much self-explanatory here. And then towards the background, we kind of zoom in, and what it looks to be 2 Chainz taking a picture of Meek Mill, Pusha T, and Lil Wayne. But all 4 of them are kind of just like, I guess you can say, on that same plateau in terms of that. Maybe with Lil Wayne obviously being the most, I guess you can say, successful out of all of them. And then out of nowhere, you see Ray Shremmer come out of nowhere with water guns and just kind of spray them and then go after J. Cole, who's in the background, like kind of just like rinsing his lawn. And he just sprays the hose at them, like, get off my lawn, kids. Like, I don't want nothing to do with you. Because we all know the history of J. Cole and just, like, bashing younger rappers and this and that. Probably would have made more sense if Lil Pump and Trippie Redd were in this. But I kind of get why they did it. They wanted to show Soulja Boy with more of the popular people. And, J. Cole is kind of just, like, doing his own thing. And just kind of, like, trying to avoid everything in general. And just trying to live his life by his ways. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of just like what's embodied in this shot. Now in the next shot, you see what it seems to be Janelle Monáe and SZA riding around in skateboards, and they kind of just ride past Donald Glover. I think it's pretty self-explanatory here. I don't know why a lot of people have been confusing SZA with Tessa Thompson, as I've been seeing recently in a lot of people's lists. However, that is not Tessa Thompson, that is SZA. Just want to get that out there. Now, the next person we see after Donald Glover kind of just closes his eyes and kind of envisions what he wants to see, I guess you can say, is Chris Brown. He's actually crying. He has his hands over his face, and he's like in disgust. I guess you can say this kind of sums up his entire career in terms of just like, just, I guess, the ups and downs that his career faced, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't like him because of his abuse, not for nothing. A lot of people just don't like him as a human being. And maybe Donald Glover feels like he's just like this guy, this whiny person who's just crying all the time and just really needs to be hugged, I guess you can say, or it's just like he's kind of disgusted with himself. But maybe that is kind of what Donald Glover is trying to say, who knows? Now the next shot is what I believe Donald Glover admires in people that he actually really, really, really loves. And these are outcasts. This is Andre 3000, who was shown first, and then as it rotates, you are seen with Big Boy. And this is actually kind of like my favorite shot of the video because of the fact that it's just kind of like you kind of just see these guys, and this is what Donald Glover admires. You could see that he aspires to be like these people, or he has aspired to be like these people. The fact that they don't make music anymore, the fact that the music industry is kind of clouded with a lot of other people that maybe he doesn't feel the same admiration to, perhaps that's leaning him to kind of just like distance himself from the rest of the hip-hop community. Now the next shot is of a woman floating with her legs crossed in thin air. And now I feel like a lot of people have been getting this wrong. I first thought it was Tessa Thompson, just by the look of her face. Just the shape of her face and head just kind of seemed like it was Tessa Thompson. I have no idea why she was going to be in this video, since she's not a musician. She's an actress, very good one at that, but I didn't understand how that kind of made sense in the video for her to be floating. However, I kind of looked in more to it, and I realized that it's actually Rihanna. It just kind of just also looks a lot like Rihanna as well, and I think it just honestly just makes more sense for it to be Rihanna, since obviously they just did a music video with each other. I can tell that there's a lot of love for her style and her music and just her personality, so I feel like maybe that's the reason why he would put her floating. Now the next person is very much Whitney Houston. I think it's really beautiful how they portrayed her there. You know, her eyes are closed and she's kind of just like floating in the wind, and that's just her prime self. That is like prime Whitney Houston, and that's someone who he most likely admires as well. And that is just pretty well done. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of blissful the way they portrayed Whitney Houston, especially with her passing and everything. I just feel like it's just kind of appropriate. Now, last but not least, you have none other than Michael Jackson. When he had the afro, when his skin was still dark, you have him all there. Even when his nose is wider, this is before he had any plastic surgery. He's portrayed as just this, fun guy, and he's smiling. He wakes up from his slumber, he starts to laugh, and he looks towards the camera, and he has the biggest cheese on his face. I think that's really beautiful in how they portrayed it. And obviously, this is another person that Donald Glover actually really admires. And I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that all of these people are kind of people that he kind of admires in some sort of way, especially when he closes his eyes. They're kind of like all in their like prime, trade in the place of their life where they probably had the least amount of problems, or maybe when they had the most amount of issues, because obviously we all know Michael Jackson's past. We all know Whitney Houston's past. They went through a lot of ups and downs mentally and physically. So it's just one of those things where you kind of just have to think about it and just kind of think exactly what he was trying to say here. And I honestly feel like he was just trying to show them in their most, I guess you can say, natural state. And I'll just leave it at that. And then at the end, you kind of just see Donald Glover just walk out. After a long day of being outside in the neighborhood, he just kind of just goes home. And that's kind of maybe where his career is heading. And maybe he feels like he just wants to kind of be done with Childish Gambino. Maybe he kind of just feels like, it's been a great ride, and he has a lot of love for the hip-hop culture and industry. But maybe it's time for him to kind of just leave it all behind and kind of just go his own way. I think that is kind of what he's kind of embodying with this video piece. I think he just shows the hip hop industry, or just the hip hop culture in general, as people with a lot of different personalities and a lot of ways to interpret their personalities, and just a lot of things to be said. And the way he does it here is profound. And I know it wasn't just him. I know the animator, I believe his name is Justin, did this as well. He's like a comic book writer. I'm not sure of his last name, but if you guys know, please put it in the comments. It's just beautiful. You know what I mean? I really believe that this video was something I've never kind of seen before. I never seen something like this where it portrayed the current state of a certain industry or culture as it is currently in time in 2018. And I just feel like it's just almost perfect. And I'm just dumbfounded by it. And honestly, just like This Is America, I've watched this like maybe 20 times. And every time I watch it, I'm always looking for something new. And who knows, we might see something new soon. Everything he puts into this video is just wow. And you have to think about it. But anyway, that's kind of it for today's video. I'm glad you guys watched and stuck by me. I hope you guys enjoyed. And just stay tuned for next videos whenever that happens. Please subscribe if you want, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.